The purpose of this video is to work on solving equations by multiplying or dividing. If you watched the previous video on solving equations by adding or subtracting, you'll notice that this is a very similar process. We're still dealing with single-step equations, but now the only operation we're dealing with is either multiplication or division. So, let's jump right in. Here we have our first two examples. First one is 5 times k equals 10, and the second one is k divided by 5 equals 10. You'll notice that in both of these we have different operations. We have multiplication occurring on the left side, and we have division occurring on the right side. Now, in the previous video, we had to make sure that we used the inverse operation, or the opposite operation, in order to get our variable alone. And with multiplication and division, it's the same idea. So since here we have multiplication, 5 times k, we are going to have to use division to get k all by itself. And when we divide, we just draw a line underneath and put the number we're dividing by. So I'm dividing that side by 5. It's important to remember, if I divide the left side by 5, I also have to divide the right side by 5. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So, I have here 5 divided by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. So, I have 1k, which we don't generally write the 1, we just leave the k. So, when you divide by whatever you're multiplying by, you're left with whatever is the variable. So I have k. Now on this side, we have 10 divided by 5. And if we know our division facts, we should know that 10 divided by 5 is 2. We cannot yet say that this is the solution though, because we have not checked our answer. So remember, to check our answer, we take whatever the variable is, and we substitute it into our equation. So I have 5 times 2 equals 10, and by using my multiplication facts, I know 5 times 2 is 10, so I end up with 10 equaling 10. This is a true statement, and our answer works out. So the solution is k equals 2. Now, let's look at the other example. On the right side here, we have k divided by 5 equals 10. Whenever we see a fraction, we should remember that a fraction means division. We are taking whatever the top number is, and we are dividing it by the numerator, by the bottom number, the denominator. So, the numerator is divided by the denominator. And if I want to get the k alone this time, I'm going to have to get rid of the denominator. With fractions, when we want to get rid of the denominator, or basically get rid of the bottom, so that we just have the top left, whatever's on the top, we multiply. And what do we multiply by? Whatever is the denominator. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 5. And what we hopefully notice is right here looks a lot like right here. So I was dividing by 5, and since I'm now multiplying by 5, that undoes the division, and I'm left with 1k again, which is just k. Now, I multiplied the left side by 5. I had to multiply the right side by 5 in order to make sure that the equation stayed balanced. So I have 10 times 5, which by using my multiplication facts, I know is 50. Just like before though, I can't jump to the conclusion and say that my answer is k equals 50. I need to check my work. So I'll substitute 50 in for k. So I have 50 over 5 equals 10. And if I know my division facts, 50 divided by 5 is 10. So I have 10 equals 10, which is a true statement just like before, and it checks out. So our solution is k equals 50. So there you have it. There are two quick and easy examples showing how we can use multiplication or division to solve when we are looking for a variable. But there is one more example we want to look at, because in this division example, the only thing on top was k. But what if we have a fraction where there's something else on top with our variable? Well, we need to be able to handle that. So let's take one more look at one more problem. Alright, for our final problem, we have 4y divided by 3 equals 5 over 2. We look at this first and we notice, oh, I have multiplication happening in the numerator. I have 4 times y, but then I have a denominator as well, so division is occurring at the same time. And while we could use multiplication and then division, that would defeat the purpose of this being a single step equation. So there should be some way that we can solve this with only using a single step. And the answer to that is reciprocals. I am multiplying by 4 and dividing by 3. My reciprocal of 4/3 means that I just take my 4/3 fraction and I flip it so that I have 3/4. And now I'm going to multiply by this reciprocal to help get rid of our fraction here. But don't forget, if I'm multiplying on the left side, I have to multiply on the right side as well. Now, why does this work? Look what happens here. If I multiply the 3 times 4, I get 12. So I'll have 12y on the top. If I multiply the denominators, I have 4 times 3, which is also 12. Now this should look kind of similar to what we just saw in the previous examples. I'm multiplying by 12 and I'm dividing by 12, which means those two are canceling each other out. And we just have y left. So I have y equaling the product of 5/2 and 3/4. Just like we did over here, I multiply my numerators, so 5 times 3 is 15. And then I multiply my denominators. 2 times 4 is 8. So we come up with y equaling 15/8. But we wouldn't be very good mathematicians if we didn't check our work. So let's substitute 15/8 into our problem. We have 4/3 times 15/8, and we're hoping it will equal 5/2. Now, just like before, multiply our tops. 4 times 15 is 60. Then we multiply our denominators. 3 times 8 is 24. And we start to maybe get a little worried, because 60 over 24 is not the same thing as 5 over 2. It looks different. But this is where we hopefully remember we should always simplify our fractions if we can. Now it just so happens that the greatest common factor of 60 and 24 is 12. They share a factor of 12. So if I divide 60 by 12, knowing my division facts, 60 divided by 12 is 5. And then if I divide 24 by 12, I get 2. So we end up with 5/2 equaling 5/2, which means our solution worked out. So y must equal 15 over 8. Hopefully this video has been helpful. We've learned how to use multiplication and division to solve single-step equations, as well as how to use reciprocal fractions in order to solve them as well. Hope this was helpful, and good luck.